it's not like you can call up God and say, hey, God, we got this military retreat that we're about to do, and it'd be great. It'd be really good if you just send a nor'easter on this date. You can't do that, right? We can't. That's when you realize that God's hand of providence had something to do with us winning the American Revolution. Hey, welcome to Luso, a show about our great country and why it's important to teach these stories to the next generation, the stories from 1776. We have a great country, and in case you hadn't paid attention, our great country is about to celebrate our nation's 250th anniversary. That's a big deal. Big deal. I mean, you think about any milestone in your life, you're hitting 20, 30, 40, we all post about it on social media. It's a big deal, right? So that's what we're here just talking about that. Talking about it. You know why? Because Hollywood's not talking about it. Look, I've mentioned this on other shows, but there's a great book called 1776. You should go get it. It's a really good book. But, there's a mini series that has been tied up in Hollywood. HBO has had the film rights for 20 years. They're not doing nothing with it. Nothing. I even talked about the Battle of Bunker Hill. That was a great book that came out. Bunker Hill. Just go look it up. It's a novel. Came out about 15 or so years ago. And we got Ben Affleck, Warner Brothers. They were supposed to make it. Back in 2013 is when they signed on for the film rights. And then they just lock it up. It's like you put it on a shelf. Ain't nobody talking about it. Like they're not going to make it. I would think that our nation's 250th anniversary would be the perfect time to talk about these stories and put out another mini series. John Adams, that was a great series. I don't know why they're not talking about it. I mean, I got some suspicions. I got some speculations, but I don't know exactly why. But anyway, since they're not talking about it, we are talking about it. You know what I'm saying? I failed to mention that this show is about coffee. And every good show should be about coffee. So don't mind me while I take a little sip. And we're going to dive back into it. So, I'm trying to remember actually which miracle we're on now. We're on the fifth miracle, or God's story, fifth one. And this one really is really all about a nor'easter. So if you live on the East Coast of the United States, you know about nor'easters. They're a big, massive tropical storm that comes out of nowhere. Matter of fact, here just about a month ago, we had Hurricane Melissa. That was a true hurricane. I think it was a Category 5 in Cuba when it hit Cuba. About 100 people lost their lives. But as we all know, hurricanes, tropical storms, nor'easters, whatever you might want to call it, a big, massive storm out of the Atlantic Ocean coming up the East Coast, those have been terrorizing, if you will, the people that live on the coast for centuries and centuries. I mean, it's been causing destruction and death for a long time. It's nothing new, is my point. But let me just point out that it's not like you can call up God and say, hey, God, we got this military retreat that we're about to do, and it'd be great. It'd be really good if you just send a nor'easter on this date. You can't do that, right? We can't. That's when you realize that God's hand of providence had something to do with us winning the American Revolution, because this story of a nor'easter happens in the fall of 1776. So it's actually 17, let me just make sure I got my dates right. It's September 15, 1776. And the Continental Army, like I've already said, is a ragtag group of farmers. Some of them are sitting there going, I know I need to get back to my farm. I got to plant some crops. I mean, or, granted, it's the fall time now, so they're just thinking of all the things they need to get to. And whereas the British Army, they've come, they're settled in. They're like, we're here to whoop some ass. That's as simple as that, right? So you got these farmers and militia guys. They're sitting in what we know as Manhattan today. They're exhausted. They're worn out. And to some degree, they're trapped, because if you know Manhattan, if you've been to Manhattan, it's surrounded by water, right? So you've got the Hudson River there, and the militia guys are sitting in what's called make sure I got it right, Kips Bay. I mean, this was something I had to go look this up. I've been to Manhattan a bunch of times. I've been downtown Manhattan, but Kips Bay is only about 8 or 10 blocks, something like that, from the Empire State Building. If you've been to the Empire State Building, you know what I'm talking about. Empire. Did I say umpire? Empire. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, so here the British fleet. Just remember, this is the world's strongest navy on the planet. Their strategy is, look, we're just going to bombard. We're going to open up and just bomb the crap out of them with cannonballs and annihilate them on the shores. And if they do anything, they're going to retreat up Manhattan, up through Central Park, and hang out there and jump into some water or whatever. I'm messing around. But you know what I'm talking about. Manhattan, they're going to retreat up through Central Park. Well, they didn't have Central Park by then, but and then they're going to get, that's the only way out that they have, right? Well, of course, the British are like, well, look, we own the waters out here, so we're just going to, head north and just cut them off. That'll be that. End of the revolution. This little revolution is going to be done in just a few minutes. So, it's July 4th of 1776. This is now September 15. And General Howe from Great Britain, he's like, good, this will all be done. I'll be back home at Christmas time to celebrate with my family. That's what he's got on his mind, But God had another plan. So what we see here in history is right at that moment in time, they're just bombing the snot out of the Continental Army, the Americans. They're just bombing the crap out of them. And the only chance they have is to retreat, like I said. And they have like about an hour of time to get north and get off the island. And they got about 9,000 troops. George Washington is 9,000 guys. Now think about this back in that time. It's not like you got a car and trucks and stuff like that. Or like the Roosevelt, I had the Roosevelt air tram. I've done that air tram. It's pretty cool. Like a gondola, you know what I'm saying? It's not like you got that. You can't load them all up and get them over. They've got 9,000 guys. They've got to get off the island. They're getting bombed. And of course, they know that the British Navy is going to sail on up and cut them up. George Washington knew that. Like, they know all these things. And out of nowhere, a nor'easter comes and hold the same wind that the British Navy needs to sail to go north to cut off George Washington's army turns and is now keeping them from sailing up. Again, they didn't have engines back then. It's not like the boat. They needed that wind to go cut off the George Washington's guys. And out of nowhere, you had this nor'easter. And, you look back at history and you're like, you can't explain this other than God's hand of provision. You can't, again, like I said, it's not like George Washington called God and said, hey, God, hey, yeah, a nor'easter would be great right on September 15th. Right about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. No, you can't do that. And that's what's miraculous about this story. So God's story number 5, a nor'easter. Hey, tune back in tomorrow, and we're going to be talking about number. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Hit subscribe below. But more than that, click the link below, luso.tv. Watch our short film. That's how you can really help us. Together, you and I, we can educate 83% of Americans that don't understand why we fought the American Revolution. But I need your help. We need your help. So share it with your friends. Pay it forward. Send it to 1,000 of your friends. Okay, maybe 100. 10 of your friends. Pay it forward. Click the link, luso.tv.